So our next speaker is going to be talking all about how to use the power of webinars in order to sell more and service better. And he has achieved a lot. He's originally from New York, but now actually lives here in Sydney. And some of you, if you don't know his face, may know his voice, because he actually has one of the most downloaded podcasts in the world. So the podcast that he started in 2014 is called the $100 MBA. And that podcast has now been downloaded over 90 million times. And he was saying just a few moments ago that he gets about 120,000 downloads a day from his podcast. So we're not going to be talking too much about podcasting specifically today. Maybe we'll have to get him back at another event to talk about how to develop a successful podcast. But for the last few years, he's been focused on webinars. And he's also developed some incredible software to run webinars as well, which he'll briefly touch on. But instead, we're going to really be talking about the actual principles and the art of running effective webinars. But he's now had more than 1 million people that have been on a webinar through his software. He has over 30 staff running that business now, and in 2018 had one of the fastest growing software companies in the world. So he's going to be talking about this subject, and this is the first time he's come along to a Blueprint event, so we want to show him how we do things here and make him feel very, very welcome. So please put your hands together and welcome Omar to the stage. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a confession to make. I love Dale Beaumont. Raise your hand if you have fallen in love with Dale Beaumont. Raise your hand right now. Get it up there. 2 hands if you really love him. All right. We all love Dale, but let's be honest. Before we got to know Dale Beaumont, before we knew about who he was or attended any of his events or seen any of his programs, we weren't so in love with him. In fact, if we're going to be completely honest, we were a little skeptical. And that's natural. You want to know if this is going to be a waste of time, if this person's the real deal, and that's totally normal. But over time, after kind of getting to know Dale and looking at his material and being at his conferences and getting an ROI from your time, you realize, okay, Dale really is of value. How did he do that? How did he build that trust, build that rapport, and build that connection with you? But more importantly, how can you do that? How can you do that with your business, with your customers, with your clients? And that's why I'm here today, right? I want to show you how to do that, how to make that happen, and how to build trust with webinars, okay? Now, Dale has to put in a lot of money, deal with a lot of logistical issues like that one at events like this, but you don't have to do that. You don't have to run all this. You can do this all with webinars at the comfort of your office, at the comfort of your home. You can do it every month. You can do it every week. I know people that do it 3-4 times a week, okay, to build that rapport and that trust with their audience. Now, I know that a lot of you are thinking, hey, so, this sounds easy, a little too easy, right? And I'll be honest with you. It is easy to not do it well, right? It's a little bit hard to do it right. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to show you how to do it right, okay? So, before I started my SaaS company, WebinarNinja, and started my podcast and all that stuff, I was a classroom teacher for 13 years. Or as I like to call it, I did 5 matinees a day, putting on performances for students at high school and university, right? So I taught for 13 years. That's what I did. I also was a teacher trainer. I train teachers so they can be able to cope in the classroom, how to deal with a crisis in a classroom management. And then I transitioned to entrepreneurship, and I discovered webinars back in 2013, and I ran hundreds of webinars to sell my own products, my own services in the business consulting world. And I just got really fed up with all the different types of software and how hard it is to run a webinar that I just decided to create something for myself. And that's a little bit of my history to get started. I was running webinars. I ran a webinar with the software that I built myself. I know a little bit of coding. And the people on the webinar were like, hey, what are you using for this software? Can I buy it? And I said, let me put up a sales page. Give me a minute, right? So from there, we built WebinarNinja, our software, back in 2014. And every so often reiterate and improve the software year after year. And today, we have over 14,000 users and over 1 million people have attended a webinar on WebinarNinja. Now, I'm not here to tell you that my software is fantastic. I'm not here to sell you on anything. In fact, I'm going to give you everything today. My job today is so that when you leave this conference, you have zero excuse. That like the only reason why you're not doing it is that you're deciding not to do it. Okay? So, I'm going to give you the skills. I'm going to give you an A to Z plan, step by step, and I'm going to give you the actual tools to run a webinar. Okay? If you're down, if you're ready, if you're into this, say yes, hell yes, yes, I'm ready to go, something. Okay, let's make it happen. All right. This is what we're going to learn today. You're going to learn how to create a webinar, and you're going to do it right. You're going to know how to run a webinar so that you're able to have an engaged group so you can build that trust, build that rapport, right? And you're going to be able to sell on a webinar, create an offer so you can sell your services. You can sell whatever you're selling, a product, a course, a consulting package. And most importantly, how to retain your customers. We work so hard. We spend all this money on ad dollars and things like that to get our customers. And then when we finally get them, we forget to retain them, to hold on to them. How do we keep them happy, right? This is what we're going to learn today in the next hour. So in exchange for me giving you all this stuff, you're going to have to take some notes, right? You're not allowed to take photos of my slides. Not because I'm precious about my slides, okay? It's because you're not going to look at those photos. You know that. You're going to take photos and you're never going to look at them, okay? What I want you to do is take notes and write in the notes how this applies to your business. And by taking notes, you're committing right now, the first step, you're taking action to putting this into place, okay? So let's do it. First, why webinars, okay? I'm going to spend 2 minutes, maybe 5, on why you should be doing webinars. I'm going to give you 3 compelling reasons why it's not even negotiable anymore, right? A few years ago, some businesses are doing them, some businesses are not. Now everybody's doing it. I guarantee in any niche you're in right now, one of your competitors is doing webinars and they have that advantage on you, okay? So I'm going to give you 3 compelling reasons why. Number 1, trust. Every relationship begins with licking. No, it doesn't begin with licking, okay? It begins with trust, okay? You have to build some sort of trust before you actually commit to buying something, okay? And webinars allow you to do that. I'm going to give you a little secret here that people don't talk about, okay? When I run a webinar, when I give a workshop and I give great value, that's a business transaction. They're giving me their time. They're giving me their attention. They're giving me their email address, access to their inbox, right? In exchange for what? I got to give them value. I got to deliver on it. Why? Because if at the end of the webinar, they build trust, if they see I'm legit, that I actually give value, they're going to say, I gave my time, I gave my attention, and they gave me a lot of good stuff. There's a good chance they're going to deliver when I give them my money. So you can't have that experience if you don't build that trust, okay? And that's like the number 1 reason why you should run webinars, and it's your number 1 goal. A lot of us, when we think about webinars, we think about technology, we think about slides, we think about presentation. We're going to make that all easy today. And your number 1 goal is, how can I build trust? If it's not building trust, I'm not doing it, right? Including selling. If you're going to sell something on a webinar, take my advice. Mention it as early as possible. Because no one likes to be hoodwinked and said, oh, wait a minute, I thought this was all a workshop. Where did the sales pitch? How many people have been on a webinar like that? Okay, where all of a sudden it transitions into this like big sales pitch, right? No, that's rule number 1 broken. You broke the trust. Compelling reason number 2, email. Email is the most coveted asset in business today. With the rise of social media, it's getting really crowded, and there's no way to get back to people on social media. Tell me if this is true or not. Your inbox is the most sacred place in your digital world. Yes or no? Right? Your inbox is something you have to deal with, right? Email is something you have to deal with. You have to do something with email, right? You have to either open it, right? You have to read it. You have to reply to it. You got to archive it. You got to do something with it. You can't just ignore it. You can't just thumb through it like a feed, right? So by getting their email, you have an intimate access, to that potential customer, to that client. So you then can follow up with them and build that trust, build the rapport, give them more value, and then eventually get them on the other side into becoming a customer. You need their email. And webinars are an email building machine because people are just accustomed to giving their email so they can attend a free workshop, a free seminar, something that they can learn from, okay? This is like a no-brainer. They're not going to hesitate, right? They're at least going to give their name and email. If you'd like, you can ask for more information, but you're going to get access to their inbox. Number 3, attention. Attention is the number one asset today in business. You have to get their attention. And with webinars, you have their attention for 45 minutes to an hour. Dedicated attention, which is like gold today, okay? People know it in advance. They put it in their calendar. They know a week in advance that they're going to attend your webinar. They get reminders. They get emails. They have a little pop-up in their Google Mail saying, hey, you got a webinar. They know they got to pay attention. They know that this is serious and I got to really focus. So a lot of people ask me, so Omar, why not a Facebook Live? Facebook Live is fantastic. Why not do that instead of a webinar? Well, last time I looked at Facebook, it's not exactly a distraction-free zone, right? Somebody's watching. The last time I looked at a Facebook Live, I was waiting for my Uber to arrive, right? A webinar is a scheduled time where people are going to give you their full attention. And this is why it's so powerful. With Facebook, you're competing with ads, you're competing with other things on the feed, you're competing with Gary Vaynerchuk telling you, get off Facebook. You don't have that with webinars. It's a controlled environment. They're on a page, there's nothing else that's distracting them. You're having a conversation with them, you're speaking to them back and forth, you're building that trust because they're asking questions, you're answering those questions immediately. It's that back and forth that is as close as it's gonna get to being on stage. All right. Anybody know this guy, John Lee Dumas? John Lee Dumas is a podcaster. He runs a business consulting firm. He is a business coach, as well as he has a course that sells on how to create a podcast. He publishes something called an income report every month, publishing how much revenue and how much his expenses are on his website, eofire.com. He's one of our users, and he's made over $4 million with webinars in 2018. He credits $4 million to the power of webinars. And I met John. He's a good friend of mine. He's not a cyborg. He's not an alien, right? He's a human like you and I, and you can do it too. In fact, I've said this to John's face, and I know that this is recorded. John is a great marketer, but he's not like this amazing speaker or an amazing person or anything like that, but he just knows what works and doubles down. And that's what I want you to do. And it's not just individuals. It's also small and large businesses that use webinars to grow and retain their customers. And I'll show you how to do that today, how to keep your customers. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is I'm going to give you the 4 steps to creating and delivering effective webinars. Okay, let's go. Step 1, choose a topic. This is the title of your webinar. In fact, I want you to write the word topic, I want you to write the word title, and I want you to cross them both out. Okay, that's not what it is anymore. It's a promise. When you saw the title of my presentation, how to use webinars and sell more and service better. If by the end of this presentation you don't know how to do that, I broke my promise. That's your promise. Your title is your promise. What are you promising your audience? Are you delivering on that promise? And we're going to make sure you're going to deliver. I'll show you why. First thing you're going to do is going to think value. What is your unique value? What's the best thing you're good at in your business? Whether it's marketing or sales, or if you're in fitness, I'm the best when it comes to cardio or whatever it is. Where is your where is the most value you can add to your audience? And that's what you need to focus on. Number 2, get specific as possible. If I'm a basketball coach, for example, how to be a better basketball player. Horrible title. Not specific. Can I guarantee, can I keep that promise? How to be a better basketball player in an hour? No, not going to happen. But how to improve your free throw shooting by 10%? Yeah, I could do that. Get as specific as possible, okay? Have an actionable outcome. At the end of the webinar, they'll be able to do, what can they do by the end of the webinar? So by the end of this session right now, this is very meta, I know, how I use webinars to sell, you got to be able to sell and service better with your business. And if I got to be able to fulfill that, you got to be able to do that. So these are the 3 things you need to focus on, or I should say, 3 things you should focus on when it comes to choosing a topic. Think of the best thing you can give your customers, get very specific, and I'll tell you why being very specific is important, and then have an actionable outcome. Next, create a lesson. You have the topic. Let's go with that basketball one, right? How to improve your free throw shooting by 10%. We're going to break it up into 5 steps, 5 parts, 5 tips. Anybody want to guess why 5 or less? Anybody guess? You can shout it out. It's okay. We're all family here. Attention span, not too big, all good answers. When I was a teacher, one of the things I learned very quickly is that there's no way they're going to pass the exam if I don't make sure they do 2 things, that they understand, comprehend, and they retain. If I can't get them to remember how to do it, they can't do it again. And this is especially important in steps because it has to have a sequence. So don't make it too much. If you can't complete the topic, the subject, in 5 steps or 5 parts, that means it's not specific enough. Go back to the drawing board. Go back to step 1. Get specific. It's too broad. It's better for you to deliver 100% on one little area than 10% on this big, fluffy thing. Make sense? Okay. Next, does your lesson deliver on its promise? Make sure that when you lay down and write down your 5 tips, your 5 parts, to get to that promise, to get to that topic, right? Does it actually deliver? Yes or no? If it doesn't, if I say, okay, my 5 parts for my basketball coaching webinar is, first one is visualize. Visualize that the ball's going through the hoop, right? Next, square up to the hoop, right? Step 3, bend your knees like sitting on a chair, okay? All these are my steps. If by the end of my 5 tips or 5 parts, I don't deliver on the promise, they can't improve their free throw shooting, then I have something wrong here. I either got to, elaborate a little bit on the parts, or I got to get more specific. Step 3, create a presentation deck. Now you're going to create a slide deck just like this one, putting this together. And this is the basic formula of the slides, and I have some good news for you. I'm going to give you the slides. Okay, I told you that, hey, I'm going to give you everything you need. You're going to have the slides, but this is the basic format. You're going to have a title slide, an agenda slide saying, hey, this is what we're covering today in today's workshop. You're going to have a host slide, one slide talking about who you are and why you're teaching this subject. Why is it relevant? A lot of people make the mistake when they run webinars. They spend 20 minutes on the slide. They talk about, I went to Harvard for both my master's and my doctorate. And it has nothing to do with the workshop, right? As relevant as possible. The 5 slides, you can elaborate in more than 5 slides, but the 5 slides and the 5 parts, the 5 tips. A Q&A slide, a slide that says time to answer questions. And then if you have an offer, a slide that has your offer. This is what it looks like, and this is what you're going to get. I'm going to give it to you. All right? You're going to have these slides both in Keynote and PowerPoint. So you can just plug in, change these logos, change the name, change the content, and it's all yours. Pretty simple, right? Next, you're going to incorporate interaction. This is where webinars are magical because this is how I build trust. I go back and forth with my audience. How do I do that? Number 1, remember I told you I was a school teacher? You remember that first day of school when you were in 4th grade and you're going to that first period class, that second period class, the third period class, first time you're meeting your teachers, right? And you walk into the classroom and in the first few seconds, you start to realize, is this going to be a field day of a class this year or is this going to be like a really tight ship, right? You walk into the class, let's say I'm going to Mr. Johnson's class, I walk into the class and Mr. Johnson's just sitting on his desk, he's not even looking at me. And I'm like, okay, I think I'll just sit here and, just wait for the other students to come, right? Next period, I go to, Miss Mary's class. I go to Miss Mary's class. I walk in. Miss Mary greets me at the door. Hey, Omar, welcome to our class today. There's an assignment on the board. Here's your desk number. Take a seat at your desk number, do the assignment, and we'll get started in a few minutes. Totally different impression, right? You realize in that moment, this is a serious class. This is a learning environment. This is totally different. You're going to do the same thing in your webinars. When people enter your webinar, they need to be doing. They need to be taking action. You got to give them something to do. Because if they don't, they're going to be like, oh, this is just a spectator sport. This is just like any other webinar, and I'm not going to learn anything. Okay? So when you first meet them, I like to say, hey, tell me where you're coming from, right? Where you're tuning in from in the world, right? And tell me what would be a win for you today. Why did you sign up? Why did you sign up for this webinar? What are you trying to get out of today's webinar? So let's say like, hey, I'm from San Francisco. I signed up today because I want to learn how to run better webinars, right? And when they say San Francisco, I don't just say, oh, hey, Amit, great to meet you in San Francisco. And I just keep going. No, I elaborate. Hey, I've been to San Francisco once, great city. Whereabouts in San Francisco are you from? Connect with them a little bit. Don't just go through the motions. I like to run a poll as well in my webinars because it's a good way for, introverted people to get involved without having to type, even though typing is pretty easy, but they could just press a button and vote. And it's an easy question. It's something like, it could be something fun. It could be something that's relevant to your topic, like how many years have you been playing basketball? 1 to 2 years, 5 years, whatever it is. Or it could be something fun. What's your favorite dessert? The point is I want them to get used to interacting. You can't expect somebody at the beginning at the middle of your webinar to start being bubbly in the chat, blowing up for no reason. You have to train them, right? You got to train them from the start. Remember at the start of this actual session, the first thing I did is I asked you to raise your hand if you love Dale Beaumont, right? I'm getting you used to interacting with me. You got to train your audience. And then lastly, you got to answer questions. This is what's great about webinars. You can answer questions. And a lot of these questions are hidden buying questions. I'm a beginner. Is this good for my kind of business? Some of them are like, hey, do you take Amex? Do you have a payment plan? Some of them are a little bit more, subtle. Like, hey, what do you do in this situation? A little bit more coaching. And by answering questions, you're giving them a confirmation. Either yes, it's a good idea to do business with you, or no, this person is not right for me. So this is why questions and answers are great. I love this quote by Benjamin Franklin. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. I love it. Get involved. You don't learn how to drive by reading the driver's manual, right? You learn how to drive, you get behind the wheel, get going. Number 4, so these are the 4 steps, recap. Choose a topic, create a lesson, create a presentation deck, incorporate interaction. Sound good? Everybody good? Got the 4 steps of putting it all together? Everybody good? All right, next one. Let's put this into action. You probably was thinking, okay, that's great, Omar. I got the lesson together. I got my slides. I have the content. But, what about the technology? How am I supposed to create this webinar? How am I supposed to make this happen in the real world, right? I want to tell you that's the easiest part. It's so easy to create a webinar. I'm going to show you how easy it is. It's literally 10 seconds, okay? This is how you create a webinar. Put a title. I pick a date. I pick a time. How long is it going to be? 2 hours, 1 hour? Straight? Create? Done. That's it. It's done. That's simple. And everything's done. Your registration pages are done. Your email notifications are done. All the sequences that go out, the thank you page they see afterwards where it thanks them and tells them to add to calendar is done. This is the easiest part. And you're going to have access to my software. I'm going to give it to you. You're going to have it. This is the easy part. I don't want you to worry about this. What we had to work on first is how do we create the content, the value, so we can build that trust, okay? So we learned how to create, we learned how to run a webinar. Let's learn how to sell, how to create an offer, okay? Raise your hand if when I say the word sales or offer, you have like a pit in your stomach. You don't really like that feeling. Raise your hand. Okay, I love it. About half the room, and I say I love it because I'm going to give you something that's like gold. Because you're going to feel like, oh, wow, that's not selling. That's like teaching. Yeah, that's what it is. And you don't have to be something you're not. You don't have to be a phony. You don't have to be, a used car salesman, nothing like that. So here are 5 steps to making a compelling offer, putting an offer together. Step 1, you're going to define your offer. You have to be crystal clear on what you're giving your customer. You might be thinking, I'm giving them coaching, right? I'm giving them my program. That's what I'm giving them. No. You know your program so well, that means something to you. The stranger that is interested in what you have to do has no idea. You have to break it down to them. So how we're going to break it down? These are the things that define your offer. What problem does your offer solve? You have to answer each of these questions and know them like your name. Super clear. What problem does your offer solve, right? So for example, with WebinarNinja, we make it easy for you to create webinars, right? It's very daunting to create a webinar. We make it super simple. It takes 10 seconds. That's the problem we make it solve. How do we solve it with minimal pain? It's not enough for you to be able to solve a problem, but how do they solve it so it's not so hard, not a lot of time commitment, not a lot of effort. It's not stressful, right? How do they make it easy, right? Amazon's brilliant at this, right? You get your stuff, it's very easy, it takes 2 days. As soon as Amazon came to Australia, I signed up and it's fantastic. And you can return things easily. It's pain-free. How is your product pain-free? Next one, what's the investment? Not just money. Not just money. How much time are they going to spend to make this happen? If you're saying, hey, I'm going to get you in shape, I'm going to help you with your finances, I'm going to do, whatever it is you do, what do they have to do? How much time? How much commitment? How much money are they spending? What's the return on investment? What are they going to get after they invest that? Real life examples. What are they going to get? Are they going to earn more money? Are they going to feel healthy? Are they going to be able to travel? What's their life look like? What does the after picture look like? Before and after, you see that in health all the time. Whatever business you're in, you want to make sure you have an after picture. You see what I'm saying? These things need to be crystal clear because the person on the other side is just new. They're just in pain. They need your help. And you need to make sure you clearly show them how you help them. Lastly, why buy now? Why buy now? Now, as you know, I'm American. Nobody's perfect, guys. Sorry. Okay? But in the U.S., there's a department store called Macy's. It's like David Jones, right? Every Wednesday they have a one-day sale. Every Wednesday, one-day sale. Come in and buy these great offers. Why are they doing a one-day sale every Wednesday? Why? Right, to try to get people in the door, to give them a reason to buy. So when you make an offer, you have to make an offer that is compelling enough to make them buy now, a reason to buy now. This could be an offer that is time-bound. It could be an offer that includes some sort of bonuses. I'm not big on discounts, so if you don't want to discount your product or your service, you can easily give them an extra bonus, an extra session, a coaching session, whatever it is, a free ticket to your event, and from there, they can have a reason to buy now. Make it exclusive. Why buy on the webinar? So this is your offer. You're defining it. Next, you're going to create an objection strategy. Every person, when they hear an offer, when they hear something, hey, this is for sale, this is what I have to offer, this is what it does, they have a lot of objections in their head. And these are the major objections. So you need to have an answer to each objection for your business. Let me show you. Number one, price. Your service costs too much. I can get the same price or service somewhere cheaper. The only reason why anybody thinks your product is more expensive or too expensive is because you did not convey enough value. Okay? If I go down the street and I feel hungry and I go into a convenience store and I see a Snickers bar and it's $2, I'm going to buy it because I'm hungry and that's worth it. $2, good value. But if it's $12, I'm going to be like, no, that's okay. Right? The value. And maybe I didn't know. Maybe Snickers is going to do something else. Maybe it was going to cure cancer. I don't know. But the point is that you have to convey the value and make sure they understand what they're getting. Most people don't know what they're getting with your offer, what they're getting with your service, what they're getting with your product. Okay? So make sure to combat this that you show them, look, and a good way to do this is return on investment. Look, this is how much it costs. This is how much time we need from you. And in exchange, you're going to get this return. How much do you value this return? And most of you are probably going to price your products at a price that's a lot lower than that return. Complacency. I'm okay with things right now, how things are working. This is very common. I'm okay. Everything's all right. Everything's kind of moving. It's not fantastic, but I'm all right. I don't need your help right now. It's very important for you to understand you need to show the whole picture for your audience. So when you're on that webinar, when you're showing your offer, it's important for you to show who's using your product, what markets are taking your service, who's hiring coaches like you, and how they got successful. Why? Because there's a good chance those people are their competitors. And if they're not feeling a sense of urgency, then they're going to know that they're not going to last too long. Their competitors are going to take on what you're offering them, and they're going to succeed. So complacency is something that you have to battle or address when you're making an offer. Overwhelm. I'm not sure I could do this. I'm a beginner. This is so easily solved because when you're on the webinar, you can spend 2 minutes to show them when you sign up with my program, when you sign up for my product, this is what's going to happen. And you show them how within minimal time, a few minutes, they can take the first steps. This is the first step. On my webinars, I show them, this is how you create a webinar. Oh, I can do that. That's not too hard. Make it easy for them to get started. Show them how easy it is. So if you're a consultant, if you're a coach, hey, the first thing we're going to do is you're going to get on a 30-minute call, and I'm going to ask you some questions. You're going to answer them. Very simple. That's what you're going to do when you first sign up with me. And they're like, okay, I can do that. That's not something that's overwhelming. Because a lot of us, we love our service. We love our product, and we throw a million things at them. I do this and this and this and this. And they're like, oh, this is good and everything, but this is a lot, right? So you don't want to overwhelm them. You want to show them, this is how you get started. This is the first step. External input. I need to run this by my business partner, my partner in life, before I do anything else. This is a valid reason. This is a valid rebuttal or objection. But you can make it easy for them to make a decision that they can go back on. So whenever you make an offer, make sure there's some sort of risk reversal, whether it's a free trial, whether it's a money-back guarantee, whether it's something that they can try first before they buy. Make it so they have enough time for them to discuss with whoever they need to discuss, and then they can go back, whatever it is, 14 days, 30 days. Okay? That's easily addressed, and you can easily just say it with one line. Hey, if you don't like what I have, you can return in 30 days. If you don't like the results, you have 60 days to make a decision. Timing. It's too much for me right now to take on. I'm too busy. I always like to address this one because it's so popular. I'm not ready for webinars. It's not the right time for my business. I'm going to ask, so the question you have to ask your audience, when is the good time? When is the perfect time? There's never a perfect time. Actually, the best time for you to take action is when the information is fresh in your head, right? You just took a workshop on whatever your topic is. It's now time to capitalize. This is the best time, not a week from now or 3 months from now or when you feel ready. You'll never feel ready. How many of you are parents? Raise your hand. And when you became a parent, did you feel ready? I'm ready to be a parent. No. You get ready. And that's what you have to do, and that's what you have to convey with your customers. Okay, so you define your offer, you create an objection strategy. Next, you're going to design a sales transition. So in the beginning, the first part, we talked about how to put a workshop together, how to give value, but how do we move from that, teaching and giving great stuff and really giving them what they are looking for, that win, and moving to, I got something for you to buy. How do you transition? You're going to show them how you can implement with greater ease. So I'm going to show them, hey, this is how you can improve your free throw shooting by 10%. These tips work. If you go and you try them, you're going to improve your free throw shooting. True. But how many are actually going to take that on and do it by themselves? Not many. People are like, that's great. If you want to make it easy on them, then I have something for you. I have a coaching program that mentors you, that shows you how to square up, that gives you tips, that if you take a video of your free throw shooting, I can critique it. There's a Facebook group that you can socialize with other basketball players. You get the point. Your product is going to help them implement whatever you're teaching them in that workshop with just a little bit ease, with just a little bit less friction, okay? They can still implement the value that you gave them. Everything I'm teaching you today, you can do with any software, you can do with any product, you can do it even on stage. You don't even have to do it on a webinar. But if you do want to do it on a webinar a little bit easy, then you might be interested in what I have to offer. You get the point? Next, show them, don't tell them. A lot of people feel like they have to say the right words and I have to say salesy things. No, you don't have to say anything. All you have to do is show them. Whatever you are selling, whether it's services, products, show them results. Show them the members area. Show them screenshots of testimonials. Show them before and after photos of the results you did. Show them what you do. Just like when you buy a car, you go on a test drive. You have to experience what it's like to own that car, and you have to show them what it's like to be a client of yours. Cool. Number 4, craft a sales offer script. Now you're thinking a script, am I going to be like giving a speech? No, you're not going to be giving a speech, but it's important for you to know what you're going to say before you say it. It's very important for you to know what you're going to say before you say it. A lot of you know your content, know your products, know everything about it, but do you know how to deliver it? That's what's important. Have you ever seen like a Google presentation or like a Google keynote? Right? It's hopeless. These guys are brilliant engineers, but they have a hard time delivering their knowledge. right? And it's hard for the common person to understand. So what you need to do is you need to just write down your ideas so you know how to say it. This is what you're going to do. You're going to write a 100-word sales offer. You're not going to read this out loud on the webinar. You're just going to write it down so you know what you're going to be covering. So you just get it out of your head first, so it's out there on paper and it's real, okay? What problem does your offer solve? How does it solve it with minimal pain? State the investment. Say what it costs. This is probably the hardest part for most people. Just read it like you're reading anything. Business blueprint. If you only fail when you stop trying. My course is $19.95. Just say it like it is. A lot of people kind of feel a little shaky on that. Just state the investment. Show the ROI. Show them what happens when you become a client of mine, and then give them a reason to buy now. What is the reason to buy now? What's the bonus? What's the reason? What's the offer? What happens if they don't buy now? What's the consequence for waiting? So this is what you're going to do. You're going to write this 100-word sales script, and it's just basically, again, a brain dump for you to get this out of your head and make it real. And then before you get on the webinar, you can just review it and be like, okay, these are the bullet points I have to cover. I'm good to go. Raise your hand if you feel a little bit better about selling on a webinar. Okay, you're making me feel better. Good. So these are the reasons. Okay. Step 5, you're going to close with social proof. Not enough for you alone to say you're great, right? Of course, you're biased, right? You have to get other people to say that, hey, this person is legit. This guy or gal knows what they're talking about. So it's very easy. All you have to do is ask your best clients. If you are new to business and you don't have any clients, ask anybody who's done anything with you before. Ask somebody who's been in this conference right now. I met John at Business Blueprint. He was helpful. He's a great listener. He asked me a lot of interesting questions. That's a testimonial. Doesn't matter where you are, you can get a testimonial. No? In the house industry is different. I'll have to speak to you later because I'm not sure about that. But we'll take it out. So this is an example of a testimonial, okay? This is one of our clients, Lauren Bartley. She's actually based in Brisbane. I think she just recently won like Entrepreneur of the Year award in Brisbane. Amazing. I used to hate running webinars because, and this is literally what I do on the webinar. I just put this up on the slide and I read it nice and slow and I don't hesitate. I don't feel nervous about it or anything like that because I'm just reading. I used to hate running webinars because of how long they took to set up and integrate with landing pages and my CRM. Since switching to WebinarNinja, I now spend minutes rather than hours setting up webinars and the professional-looking landing pages and email autoresponder sequences that go with them. Short, sweet. Now, let me ask you a question. If I asked Lauren Bartley, hey, Lauren, can you give me a testimonial? Do you think she gave me this just off the top of her head? Right. So I asked her a few questions. I asked her, can you give me 2 paragraphs? And in those 2 paragraphs, answer these 2 or 3 questions. And those 2 or 3 questions is, what was your life before WebinarNinja? How is it after? And why do you love it? What's the number one reason why you love it most? Okay? What's your life before? What's your life after? And why you love it most? Why? Because these are the questions people have in their head when they're watching your webinar. What's my situation now? I can resonate with that. Yeah, that's really hard to run a webinar, right? I can resonate with wanting what she wants and what she got. And then lastly, she kind of says, this is the unique selling proposition of WebinarNinja. And it makes it easy by just asking her 3 questions. These are the 3 questions I want you to answer. What's your life before WebinarNinja? What's after? And what's the number one thing you love about us? Okay? And then she gives me this nice, easy, short testimonial that I can share on my webinars. So to recap, step 1, define your offer. Step 2, create an objection strategy for those objections we shared. Design your sales transition, how you can, again, implement whatever you're teaching with far greater ease, how to craft that sales offer, answering those questions, and then close with social proof. All good? Feel good? All right, so we've created a webinar. We know how to run now. We know how to sell on a webinar. How about retain those customers? We work so hard to get these customers. How do we keep them? And this is my favorite part of webinars, and it's the number one kind of ROI our customers get. Number 1, we love to run members-only webinars. So whatever you have in terms of your a product or service, a consulting firm, whatever you are, you have customers, And a great value add, a great bonus for being a part of your organization is a monthly webinar that you can do just for them. It's a great, whatever the topic is, you can address a topic, a pain point, an issue. You can answer questions. You can show them the latest updates, the newest news, the biggest announcements you're having in your company. We just made a hire, by the way, guys. All that kind of stuff. This is a great value add. It makes them feel like they're getting more than just your service, more than just your product. They're getting a little bit more nurturing. Number 2, exclusive training and coaching. I like to do just exclusive training, laser coaching. Hey, I have a problem with marketing my webinars. I want to market my webinars. My budget's tight. I crafted a webinar just for that. If I'm a basketball coach, I have a real problem with feeling very fatigued by the end of the game. How do I get my fitness up? What are some good things? I give a laser training with there. What's good about webinars is that they're recorded automatically. I can save that video and I can pop it in my members area, or I can offer it as an evergreen replay so they can watch it anytime. Even if they were a member, they weren't a member when that first aired. So when they come on as a new client, I can say, hey, we have all this training that we did when you were not around that you can refer to. It's also helpful for answering questions on webinars. If I'm on a webinar and I say, somebody asks a big question like, hey, what's your advice when it comes to Facebook ads with webinars? I can't teach that in in answering Q&A. So I just say, hey, we have a great training on that in our members area. This is the video, here's the link. Done. Because I just ran that webinar, 3 months ago. Number 3, accountability and support. This is a great way because a lot of people, they need support. They need motivation. They need a support network. And you could do that through the chat, through Q&A session. I have open Q&A sessions where I just have open Q&A. Any questions you have about, running the software, running webinars, doing business, whatever it is. You can also do onboarding. So when you have a new member, you can get somebody on your team, or if you want to do it yourself, to onboard them with a webinar. Hey, thanks. Remember I said the baby steps, the first step? Hey, the first thing you're going to do is going to sign up for this webinar. We're going to show you the ropes. We're going to show you what the first things you're going to do. This is the materials you're going to get. This is how you're going to, get started. These are your first steps. And it's a good way for them to onboard a new client. Lastly, office hours. We're all busy. I like to do an office hour. I don't do it that often, but I do it once every 2 months. I do an office hour where, again, I just make myself available as the founder of the company, and I just share a little bit about the vision, what we're doing, what's coming up on the horizon, what are the updates, where we're heading, all that kind of stuff. People like seeing behind the curtain and how your business is run. They signed up or they became a customer more. They love your offer and they love what you're all about, but they also are interested in you. They're interested in who you are as an entrepreneur. So this is a great way to retain your customers, keep them happy, and keep them a part of your network. So you now know how to create, run, sell, retain. This was my promise to you in the beginning. Okay? Now, let's put this into action. You know how to put the webinar together. You know how to run it. You know how to sell. You know how to maintain or retain your customers. How are you going to put this to action? How are you actually going to create the webinar and put these in motion and add it to your calendar and really make it happen? I don't believe in procrastination. One of my favorite things is I love to read autobiographies. I love to read stories about great entrepreneurs. I love reading the story of Phil Knight, the founder of Nike, or Steve Jobs, or even the late Tony Bourdain or Anthony Bourdain. Great story, right? All these magnificent people, none of them are procrastinators. They all are doers. So this link, this offer, this thing to give you everything you need, the templates, the free month, everything to get started, it's only valid to the end of the day on Monday, okay? If you need more time, then you won't get it for free. I just want to give it to people that actually want to take action. And that's really my message to you today. Here's your question. You got to ask yourself, are you going to take action? Will you take action right now? And I know the answer. I know that at least 70% of you will not take action. Something's going to come up. It's not going to be important. And that's okay because I know the other 30% will, and you know who you are, and you will have that competitive advantage. And that's what I love about business, is that it's about doing, right? So if you want to take that offer, if you want to get started for free, just go to webinarninja.com/ILoveDale, and I got your back. Thank you so much, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.